this is a video on how to make a dice bag or a small drawstring bag. I have a template with a 7 by 7.5 inch that you'll want to cut out in the beginning. Then we will have 2 pieces of fabric that are going to be your main or the pretty fabric. You're going to want to put them right sides together. Then we are going to have a lining accent fabric. You're also going to put the pretty sides or the right sides together, and you're going to place them on top of each other. I'm going to put the accent first and then my main on top so that I can match up where I want to put my outline or my template on top. Because I have a yellow accent color, I'm going to try to match it up with the Hufflepuff or the yellow. So I kind of want to get that in the middle. You want to leave about 1 inch on one side and 1 inch on another. We will later use the tops and fold them in. So you do not want to have it like this. This will not leave you enough. So put it in the middle. Make sure your bottom is lined up. See, I have enough here on the bottom that when I sew across and I outline, I will be able to include this part. Take your fabric marker or a chalk outline. I like to put little marks to the right and the left because this is where I will use the scissors to cut, and it'll give me a guide. It also provides a nice little guide when I am sewing. Now that I have my nice outline, if you like, you can double check that the width matches up. Make sure that my needle is there to keep everything in place. That's the first step. The second step, you're going to actually sew the bag. This here is going to be the body. This will be the body, so you wanted to make sure lined up. If you were going for a picture, it would rest right in here. This part will remain open. This is the part we are going to flip. So you'll stop sewing here on both sides. Okay. When I sew, I also like to do a back stitch across the entire back to help with strength for the bag and to help it from fraying. A lot of my customers put dice in it, which can be pretty heavy. That little accent line that we had, I will try to bring you in. That little accent line here kind of is a nice guide, since I can't see underneath my foot, of where your mark is going to start and stop, so that when you back stitch into it and then come back down, you know about where your line is. Okay. Pick it up, move it. This for me is a nice time to do a little forward and back stitch. Leaving my needle in, I will take it and move it around, and I will go back the entire length of the bag. get to this part here, make sure you stop before your line here, because you will use scissors and you do not want to cut the thread here. And I will move this out of the way for the moment. So as you can see, I have the blue line here. This is where I will cut. To help, I'm just going to use this to just demonstrate. My blue line runs up to here. I am going to stop my cut right here. Make sure you do not cut the thread, or else you'll have to go back and re-sew over this part. You'll take this, move it over, and re-stitch this to make sure that your bag stays together. I'll also take it over here and I will cut once again. Let me see if I can line this up nicely. You can see here's the stitch and it stops at the blue line. Making sure that you do not cut this part. Oop, okay. I'm going to trim up these edges here. On the bottom here, where your bag will be, where the corners are, you will cut on an angle. Doing this will help make your bag form a nicer edge. You can see that the body is starting to form. Take back your one piece of fabric and fold it out. Now you can see this will be the outside of the bag, this will be the outside of the bag. Take your hand in and flip it. Make sure that you take these corners and you pop them out. You can use chopsticks. Some people use the hard plastic straws. Nothing with too much of a point. You don't want to pierce it, but you do want it to make a nice corner. Okay. You can see the outside of the bag and my one accent piece being the inside. Once again, have the piece down. You'll see here I haven't cut anything just yet. What I will do is I will fold this one back and I'm going to fold these two in. I want them to go parallel with the bag as best as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. You can always re-iron them a little bit. But I just want to create that one line that we had continuing straight up. So the bag running up this way. I'll do it again on this side. The reason that I have these pieces here so long is because when I sew the bag, I do not sew these edges here at all. And therefore, if they do fray, I want them to fray inside the bag and to not come to the end where it will be most commonly used. I will take these ones in and I will fold it down to match here. So now I can bring it back a little bit. Just keep working it with your thumbs to try to move it in just a little bit. You're going to want your main fabric to be the part that's going to be showing more. So if one of them has to roll in a little bit more, you want it to be the accent color or the inside bag lining. Now I'm going to flip my bag. Here you can see how this matches up with this part very nicely, because this will be one side of the bag. You can see here is going to be the inside of the bag where we have hidden all of the seams inside. This will go down. We will start to fold these ones in. Use your fingers just to kind of work a piece of it in and kind of make sure that it matches up along the line here. Once again, we're going to go here, fold it in, have it match along the line. Now, I do have this bag a little bit too long. When you cut your piece of fabric, let me go ahead and flip it here. I always tell you that you want the bag to start off with 10 inches. I picked a piece of scrap that was a little bit longer than 10 inches just so I can show you. You're going to fold your main piece down and you'll see the edges right here. And what I do is I like to put a ruler and about 3 inches in. You can go a little bit more or a little bit less depending on what you like the bag to look like. I think 3 inches is nice, which is about what this yellow piece is. So when I fold it underneath, it gives me a nice lip here where I will then put the drawstring bag through. I will show you. When this piece is over here, let me bring this back down. We will then thread using a safety pin through our 2 sewn lines. So we want to create enough room that we can run our 2 cords through. They don't have to be paracord, you can have a ribbon, but just make sure that you kind of gauge enough space that when you put a seam here and a seam here, that you'll be able to run at least a safety pin size through. It just helps to move the cord through the bag. So I will put this back. 3 inches is right here where my yellow ends, so I will cut off these extra here. Let me give you a look from this side. We have our top main fabric, our lining. They will go together. Let me bring it up a little bit more. Top main fabric and lining. Inside of the bag, lining, main fabric. So now I'll take this, fold it in, take the matching color, fold it under. Kind of press it down with your fingers just to make sure that they match up nicely. Little press with the iron. Fold the first one down. You can almost fold them right in half and they should match up pretty well. And then if you want to nitpick over making sure that none of the extra lining color shows through, you can play around with it. I usually do nitpick. For example, here I have a little bit of the bag outline. So what I will do is I will try to roll this inside lining piece with my thumb just a little bit so that I can move this part underneath a little bit more, because I don't want it sticking out like this. That, give it a press, and finish folding it under from how we had it originally. Right, then we turn the bag over. Now we take this part over and fold it down. Before you sew, you can take the two pieces that are separated, put a pin through them, just so that you can pull the part of the bag open easier when you thread it. We will do 2 lines. So when you open the bag, you can see, I like to put the ruler here. You can see this is how much space we have for the thread. You can make a mark here if you like, if you have a marker or a utensil that is going to completely disappear off your fabrics to help you with a straight line if you're starting off. Or you can just follow your footer and pick part of the machine where you just want to keep following, making sure that you just keep this part of the bag on the same part of your sewing machine. Let me see if I can show you. Here on the machine, I like to pick just one of these gauges or guides to set up my fabric and just to follow a line when I sew. From there, I can play with the positioning of the needle to the far side, or I can bring it closer in to the top. It's just your preference on that part. So you're going to sew a bottom line here and a top line here. I do like to start with this top part here on both sides, and then if you want to adjust the gauge, not really the gauge, I guess the positioning of the needle, you can then move it again if you want to get the needle thread closest to where this part here opens up. Because I do like to keep this bottom as close to this part here as possible so that nothing can fall in there or misplaced. And it also keeps the seam here nice and tight and keeps it from fraying a little bit. Okay, so I will do that part. I like to start with the back stitch. The one that I had the needle in, I'll have to remove. Just get this bag positioned just right. Really don't like to have the inside of the accent bag outside of, if I can help it. taking this part here and the accent piece together and then sewing across the top. Now we'll take, you can see here, there's a bit of a gap here. And I like to sew just one more here on the bottom to keep these edges kind of put in one place. So once again, I find my spot on my guide ruler here of where I want to keep the top part of the bag. I can position the point of the needle. I like to put it towards the bottom of the bag if I can. Using the same spot on my guide, I will do the other side of the bag. Let me bring you in for a little bit closer of a look. You can trim the threads at any point, but here you can see I have stitched up top here, and you can see the white line going across here. On the end point here, you will see 2 pieces of yellow fabric and 2 pieces of your main fabric, which for me is Harry Potter. Using this middle part right here creates a tunnel where I will take my thread, take my paracord and put it through. For this size bag, I like to use 4 feet or 48 inches. But you can see here how 2 on one side, 2 on the other. The safety pin goes in and you can feel for it in the bag. You can even hopefully see somewhat of an outline here. And you push through and you pull on the other side. So you push and you can keep feeling for it. This helps guide it all the way through, and simple enough just to pull. Now that I've pulled through, let me bring this part back so you can see. The bottom parts of my thread here I want to grab together, and on this side I want to pull to make it an even on both sides. So now once you pull all the way on the one side, I don't have a camera, that I can't back it up far enough. This right here is the dead center. The reason I do it once it's in the bag is because I want to make sure both of my ends and both of my cords are as close to the same size as possible. So by pulling on both, and you can see like that is the absolute center. That is where I want to make my cut. Because I'm using paracord, I will burn the edges so that they don't fray. So let me do that part for you now. Now you're going to wait a moment or two because these edges are still hot and it's kind of like a hot glue. But while you're doing that, leave one cord off to the side and use this other cord and pull. Not too far, but you want to know one is longer on your left side and one cord is longer on your right side. You will use the longer cord. So this is my short cord here. I'll put it up. This cord, I will take the safety pin, run it through here again. And because this cord is running from my left side, I will run it to the left side in between this part of the bag. Once again, leaving the two main fabrics up front and the two accent color pieces to the back. Run it once again through. Pull the cord and then find the end piece of this one. These two are now your set and you do not want to run that same cord. So now I will take this other string that I have not run through the opposite side of the bag yet, and you can double check by pulling on it. I can feel that this one is moving. You can see here that it's okay. Don't lose it when you pull on it though. So now you take this end, put the safety pin through it again. Because this is on my right side, I will take it and run it through the right side of the bag. Make sure that you keep moving the safety pin and not the other thread that's going through there. And pull. I'll bring the bag back a little bit so you can see. I now have these two ends. Using this, I can pull. And now I stop because my finger is holding the rest of it in place. I have two strings on either side. If I take these edges here and I pull, it cinches up very nicely. Here you can add some locks to them so that they stay in place, or you can just knot the ends. As you can see here, it stays pretty well. You'll want to go through and take off all the extra thread, but that's simple enough. You can even see if you fold it out this way, and when you pull it tight, very small, if any, gap really is here. You can see here where it's kind of scrunches. This is the two lines that you sewed, and you can go smaller now that you can feel inside where your paracord is, or your ribbon. You can make it even of a smaller string. I do like to create a little bit of a gap on mine. I just think it gives a nice look for it. Okay. Thank you for watching. Like my page.